What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're all doing well today. Today, I'm really excited to bring you a new episode of EDC Walk and Talk. Today's topic is going to be the most carried piece of gear going to the least carried piece of gear. I thought it'd be really interesting to go through this. We will exclude cell phones from this conversation. This is just stuff that you would carry with you the most to the item that you would probably have or find on you the least. And it's going to be probably pretty close from category to category. Having said that, if you do enjoy today's video, don't forget to leave a like for me and comment down below about your most carried piece of gear and or pieces of gear. And if you're enjoying the content, think about subscribing and consider turning that notification bell to all so you get alert whenever new content drops. You can decide what content you want to watch versus what you don't want to watch. Today I am trying out a new background. I apologize for the camera glitching out with the contrast. I will have to do some homework on that and try to research why it's doing that. And I'm noticing like my background is falling because I didn't quite have this lined up. So let me try to do that a little bit better there. Doesn't always come up seamless. I still have the gray flooring that's on the tabletop here because I'm not quite sure if this is going to stick around or not. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it with all that out of the way. The number one piece of gear that I have on me more often than not out of everything that I own that I use the most is going to be my wallet. Now, I do have one type of wallet, and it is the minimalist wallet, which I really like. This one here is made by Redeemed Creation. He makes them by hand in his shop at his house or in his shop at home. And he has done a really good job offering a variety of colors, and he lets you pick out your color of stitching. I got the gold color stitching here on the green, which is really hard to tell on camera. I did the red to give it some pop off of the black. And the first one that I ever got from him, it's just the brown on brown. You can tell it's patinaed a lot. I don't even know if you can see down in there what it looked like before, but it is super patinaed. And the black is really going to be hard to see what's changed on it. But the green, I think you'll be able to tell the most, maybe. Nope. I mean, it started out like this color green, these little nicks and dings here. That's the color that it started out with. So I really like his leather products. They have held up well. I've had this one for, I don't know, maybe like a year. I like the way the leather feels. It has a soft touch, feels very comfortable in hand. And again, these minimalist design take up minimal pocket space, which is why I like these a lot. But there's a whole lot out there if you're more into the metals. I think there's a Ridge wallet or Ridge line. I could have that wrong. I think it's one or the other. But there's quite a few out there. My son has one that is carbon fiber. So really nice. Gets everything cleaned up. A lot of the unnecessary stuff that you carry that you're probably not using out of the pockets. But I do recommend Redeemed Creation. I've had his the longest. And again, I really enjoy these wallets. The next one I think is really going to probably surprise some folks. And the next most used piece of gear that I have is actually going to be the pen. And that's because whether I'm taking notes for things that I'm doing with the channel, or whether I'm at work doing some type of writing some notes at work, pretty much the same thing that I'm doing at home, writing different notes to myself so I can keep track of things, or jotting down ideas, or making notes for stuff that I need to follow up with on my job. My pen is definitely my second most used piece of gear. The wallet's with me every day. The pen I probably pick up daily as well. And I don't know if that's a surprise to anyone. So I'll just run through these quickly because I do actually get a lot of questions from my Instagram post. So these are the Fisher Space Pen bullets. This one here is the brass. I really love the way this has patinaed. I mean, I think it looks really cool. You can see where my hands land on the most on this and what is protected from being put away. I like the fact that some are solid colors, whereas others have, and I think these are probably newer, they have the texturing or the milling down on the bottom to really get you some nice grip and ergonomics when you're writing with these pens. So when, as you can see, closed, they're compact and discreet and easy to carry. And you can even get a pocket clip if you want to clip it onto, say, like an organizer. Woo! These things are a little hard to pick up though, because they are perfectly round. So I like these because they're fun, nice colors. It is a pressurized cartridge. The reason they call it the Space Pen is because you can write upside down with it. You can write on wet materials, I believe, if I recall correctly. So like if you're, in the field and you have field notes, that is something that you can take advantage of with these pens. The little rubber grommet keeps them from falling out. There's even, and I don't know if I'll be able to get it up close, there is a little, hard to see, there it is. There's a little notch that actually keeps it from sticking to the point where you can't pull it out. Really hard to put it away on camera. The other thing that I like to do with these, it's really fun if you like having organizers and pieces of gear to kind of coordinate and color match these. So that's something that's really nice about the Fisher Space Pen Bullet. They write nice, they have good ergonomics, and they are really nice writing utensils and writing tools. Really helps my penmanship. I probably, should have brought something out here, and you can see I have all of them stashed in different organizers that I use. We'll get to those here in a little bit. So that's the Fisher Space Pen. My next favorite out of all of these is actually going to be the ones from Refine Corporation. Hopefully you can see that there. I think it's like the FP1 or SP1. They're all the same model. This, I recently just picked up the black. I had got my wife one of these for Christmas as a stocking stuffer because she always comments or compliments. No, actually, she always comments on my pens, liking my pens, wanting to know where I got them. These I really like because they're very well made. You can get copper, you can get brass, titanium, you can get I forget what type of coating this is, but it's like a Cerakote type coating on the aluminum alloy, and it has decent weight. The titanium obviously feeling the lightest. The brass, and I think this is probably stainless steel, the way that the weight's feeling on this one, feel really good. The thing that I like about all of their pens, the brass, they do have a stainless steel slide because it automatically slides really smoothly against the brass, but the bronze inside of the other metals make this feel super smooth. They do come with the Schmidt refills, which I really don't like. I'm not a fan of. This is the first one that I've gotten with a Schmidt in it that actually writes pretty decent. And I'll grab a piece of paper to show you. But every time I get these, they always kind of start to fade in and out really quick, and they're not very consistent. But as you can see, this one, for some reason, works really well. And it writes really smooth, but I don't like the Schmidt. I usually like to get the Parker refills. I think those are my favorite. And I think this is a really nice size for EDC. Very easy to carry. It can go into a lot of things. I keep the black and the bronze in my backpack for work. And then the titanium, oh, I lost the organizer. Oh, here it is. The titanium goes in here, and I took the knife out of here because I haven't debuted it on the channel yet, and I want to save that for when it's actually due. But I actually keep this in here, and this is a new one. I have not had this one as long, and we'll cover flashlights here in a minute since you can't really see what that is in there. But I like this because this whole setup will slide down in the pocket and companion carry with the pocket knife that I have in my pocket that day. The last one that I want to talk about today is going to be the tactile turn. These are the shorts. I think if you were to get these, I would go with the mini, because I think the mini is going to be closer to that size of the refined EP1 or FP1, SP1, whatever that one is. I like these a lot. Now, I will say I really love the titanium build better than I like the copper. The copper's heavy. And the reason I've never ordered another copper pen is because I really don't like the smell, and the patina doesn't come out as good as that brass. I haven't had the refine as long as I've had that Fisher. The Fisher has patinaed really nicely. I love the blotchy colors and the way it's picked up the oils. The refine hasn't done that as much. It's done a little bit, but not quite as much as I had hoped. The copper absolutely will do it, but it weighs too much. I don't like the smell, but that's not to take away from the fact that it's really well built. And I actually think I like the bolt action pen better than I like the click. I think this is probably a little bit more fidgety or fidgetable, if that's a word. It has a nicer fidget factor to it. There you go. Because you don't have to move your hand. You can sit in one spot and just fidget. This one, you got to kind of move your hand around. And it's a little crunchy with the titanium. I think with the bolt action, it may also have like a bronze slide in it to keep it from being so gritty. Now, I have noticed that as I use this more and more, it is breaking in. The things that I do like about it, the whole premise behind their pen is the tactile or the milling that is on these pens. Now, I probably need to do it right about here and zoom in so you can see that, but it does have the ribbing. There you go, the ribbing. There's the word, JD. The ribbing on the pen, which makes it nice and it doesn't slip inadvertently. I also think that the diameter on these are probably a little bit better, so it really does help when you go to write, because it makes it so it doesn't move. It has nice diameter for larger hands, and I really like the way that this feels in hand. So I write really well with these. I didn't want to spend too much time on them, but I at least wanted to cover the ones that I do have really quickly. I mean, you can go out and spend, I think, $20 to get you a Fisher Space Pen. The Refine are going to be around $50, and I think price of admission for the Tactile Turn Company pens are going to be around $99. Some pens that I've tried that I don't like, I'm kind of jumping ahead on some of the other pieces of gear, but I picked up these pens. I can't even remember what they're called. I think they're Zebra. These are just too small and too dainty, but I do in this scenario like to keep it with a little pad, because if I am somewhere, it's nice to have these in the side pocket of my backpack, because I can grab it a little bit faster to write a note. And something like this, if I don't have the pen that's down in my organizer, but either way, the notebook that's in here really comes in handy. So what is, if the wallet's number 1 and the pen's number 2, what is number 3? Well, number 3 is going to be what everybody probably tunes into this channel for on the regular, and that's going to be a pocket knife. I'm going to have some type of pocket knife, one way, shape, or form in my pocket, and I usually do try to coordinate my gear. It used to start out with, I just kind of had a couple in my rotation, and as I think most of us have, we kind of evolve and pick up some, and maybe we got some we didn't like and we offload some. These are, you know, staples in my rotation. These are ones, this is never going anywhere. This was a gift from the wife in its base form, and then I picked up the scales and anodized them to customize it for me. A Chris Reeve has always been a grail for me, so this I don't see going anywhere. This will probably stay in my inventory and these will be heirlooms to my kids. And the Protect Malibu, I just love this knife so much. Even if they came out with better versions or updated versions, I don't see myself getting rid of this one. When I actually sold the blue one off to prepare myself. I thought it was going to drop sooner too. I sold it a little too soon. I went a month without this knife, and I missed it greatly. And as you can see, I have like a range of knives, right? Like this is super thin and slicey, really small and compact. This one is not quite so thin and slice. Well, I said slicey, I meant thin and friendly from an ED. This one's a little bit thicker, but it looks worse than what it really is. I tell people this all the time. It's really not that bad. It just has the chunky scales that kind of give that perception. Really lightweight, whereas this one is obviously a much bigger user. Now, it's not a bruiser user, but it absolutely, for me, is a full size because I have a little hanging out the back, plenty of blade. I'm like at the midpoint with a natural extension of the thumb. So this to me absolutely is a full size. So I think everybody probably can relate to this piece of gear the most. And again, down below, leave in the comment. I would be curious to see if you're being honest what your most carried piece of gear is. I'm thinking probably most people will say like wallet and knife. I don't have keys on here because I do actually work from home some days. So actually some days I don't ever need the key and never pick it up. So that is nice. Now, what is the third most piece of gear that I have? Well, that is definitely going to be an organizer of some kind. And we'll roll through these quickly because I have a multitude of organizers that I use. One that I actually like a whole lot are the ones from Hitchin Timber and Art Company. If you can't tell from here, I actually, when I first started, I didn't know if I was going to like an organizer, and I picked up the Delodrio, I think Delodrio, someone told me is how you pronounce it, because these are really cheap. They are genuine or genuine leather. I'm not quite sure how you say it. I think it's genuine, which is the absolute lowest grade of real leather that you can get. Not like artificial, and I'm not knocking it. It is leather, but it is the least premium, and I think you can probably look at the two leathers and you can kind of tell the difference on the finish. Now, I have oiled this up a little bit because I didn't want it to dry out, but I also did oil up the Delodrio. I'm going to call it the Amazon one going forward. I did do the budget Amazon one, and it felt like it didn't really absorb it any. So you can tell a difference in the leather. But I did start with these because they were like $10 and they held up. Like I kept one because I want to continue to do a long-term review. So I do have some gear in there, but the organizer is the next obviously highest because I use these for my companion carries. I keep my gear in here, and that's how I get it in the pockets. So moving on from that, the next biggest piece of gear that I actually carry, and y'all are gonna probably laugh, is going to be the flashlight. Now, there's a couple that I have found that work really well that I can kind of afford in order to be able to kind of match them up with the gear. And that is going to be the Rovivon Aurora. I like this one because it is smaller. I think this is the I can't see through the camera. Oh, it's upside down. That's why I can't see it. It is the A3. This actually packs quite a punch and takes up the least amount of space, but I like this too because you can also throw it on a key ring and take off that pocket clip. I really do like the i5T EOS and the i3 TOS from Olight. If I had to choose one to recommend to you out of the Olight brand, it would definitely be the i5. I like the throw a little bit better on here. I like the size for the tail switch. The tail switch on here is fine, but I find that it actually recesses down in the hand a little bit. So I'm in this position where I'm kind of like using it in the knuckles, whereas the i5 feels a little bit more comfortable if you like a tail light, and the function on this is really, really nice. Now, I do have a Streamlight that I tried, but I don't recommend the Streamlight even though it is a little bit cheaper. The Streamlight tail switch is super stiff, and sometimes it's actually hard to engage. So I don't really like the Streamlight all that much. I don't know if they've updated that recently, but I wouldn't recommend them. Another brand that I picked up here recently before I get to that last one that I really like, that really has impressed me, is actually going to be Through Night. Now, I did pick up one of the chunky ones because I wanted to try a different organizer because I have some of those 5th pocket carries. So sometimes I'll alternate what I'm carrying in the organizer. But really like the Through Night, and I think that one is a really good brand as well. This is not titanium, by the way. This is just a aluminum frame that has a silver coating, and it is magnetized on the back. Yeah, I thought so. All right, the last one, and the one that I've discovered most recently, is going to be the Dapper Design EDC. This one is a full titanium pocket flashlight, and as you can see, it is not stainless steel anywhere, but it does have its own magnet on the cap, which is nice if you wanted to kind of stand it up somewhere. Oh, that's not going to be strong enough steel to demonstrate that. Let me see. What do I have? No, that's not strong enough either. Sorry, guys. I don't have anything close by that I can demonstrate that on. But it does have a very good magnet if you needed to stand it. What I have actually found that I used it on is on the hood. I've popped this on the frame of the hood to hold it in place while I'm trying to work on something in the garage if I needed a little bit of a stronger light on there. This one is nice. I like the fact that it is a side click because in this instance, it's just too small for a tail switch. I mean, it's going to be buried in hand to use it. I like the compact nature because sometimes I'll actually carry this separate from an organizer. So sometimes I'll throw a knife, like a full knife in an organizer, which I should have brought downstairs, but I didn't, sorry. A full knife with the pin stashed in there. So it kind of is about this size, but built a little different. And it just has one pocket. The knife goes in, and then it has the ribbing on the outside here, and you can throw the pin in it. And I actually carry the flashlight up on top. And I do get this question a lot. People ask me, what are you using a flashlight for? So sometimes it's nice to have it to look down into the knife, especially if you're looking at the pivot, if you're just trying to gauge if it needs a little, maybe a dab of oil on the detent ball, things of that nature. If you're trying to look down in there, if you picked up a used knife to see how dirty it is, or if you're trying to check out your bearings, that's where it comes in handy, I think, from an EDC perspective. Something else I really like about these two is sometimes when you're looking, wait, did I? Oh, I'm using this one doesn't have as bright of a throw. That's my other complaint about. It'll work in a pinch, don't get me wrong. The i3T are plenty good, but I think for, like I think they start $10 more for the i5. You get a much better throw. The other reason that I like this too, if you drop something in a low lit area, sometimes it's really hard to find it. And if you actually take the light and you lay it like this, like an earring back, like you see that piece of dirt, it probably was a little hard to see in a low light area like this, but you see how much more detail you get from like the soft film from here versus straight down. This really does help, like if it goes under a table or if it goes under the sofa, something like that. That's when that really shines. Dang it, I'm sorry, that was an awful joke. It really does. It really does, though. It really works well. So that's why I do like a flashlight. Those are some of the things that I really do use it for. I'm running a little bit long, so I am going to wrap it up from my next most carried piece of gear. And a lot of these you could split hairs over the time and pocket, but it is probably lowest on the list here. I think I did a pretty good job of the order of things that I use the most to the least, and that is going to be a little multi-tool. Depending, and I used to carry these in the 5th pocket. That's why you see like the dime and the squirt, but I haven't seen these as much since I picked up the organizers and used the Swiss Army knife to kind of use those as a combined unit altogether. But I did used to carry like this is the arm bar, and I think they have the arm bar slim, which I also picked up because I do like those tools. So the arm bar slim, and you can see the difference here. They took out the awl and they just gave you the knife and the scissors, the awl and the scissors, right? I think, oh, no, it still has an awl on here. It's over here. And they just changed the way it was designed. They kind of integrated it into it versus it having like this prow bar here. So they changed it a little bit and made it a little bit thinner, but I did like to have these to carry in the 5th pocket when I was just carrying the knife. And then I was finding like I needed the pen. I need to make a note. I need to write this down because I want to do this on the channel. I need to write this down because I want to do that on the channel. And I found the pen to be just invaluable for me because it's nice to have it on you when you're out and about and you want to make a note about something. And somebody's going to say, just text yourself, right? Just email yourself, text yourself, put a note in your phone. Yeah, I guess I'm old school in that regard where I want to have the pen and paper because I just kind of like the way that makes me feel, I guess, when I write it down. But you're absolutely right. I could just put it in a note on my phone and be done. It'd be really, really easy to do. I just like being able to pull out a pen and just to write it in. And sometimes at work, it's a little bit more discreet than picking up my phone. You know, I don't want to give the wrong impression that I'm that dude that's always on his phone at work, right? So it's a little more discreet. I really do like the SOG PowerPoint. This really fills a gap of that Leatherman nor Gerber really have filled for a, you know, multi-tool with pliers that you can use, and it's like it jumps from the squirt all the way up to like a full size. There's like nothing in between. I don't know why I keep saying like here. There's nothing in between, absolutely nothing in between, and this really fills the gap. I really do like this multi-tool. I feel like it's a solid build. Would I say it's as good as a Leatherman? No, there's definitely some difference in build quality, and you can feel it even from the squirt to the PowerPoint, but that's not to say that this is junk or garbage or not well built. It feels really well made, and you know, I'm not trying to steer anyone away from a Leatherman. If you want a Leatherman, get it. It's an American-made tool. I absolutely would say every time get it. This was just something that I could throw in my pocket if I wanted to carry this in the pocket with the pocket clip, and then say like throw this down in the pocket so I had my slip joint, flashlight, and pen. So kind of taking the place of the knife. I would say this would come in handy when I'm heading over to some friend's house or heading over to the relative's house, because I'm less likely to need to pull out the pocket knife to help them use something or do something versus having something that's a little flexible as far as a multi-tool, because I often get asked to look at things and you never know when something like that will come in handy. That concludes what I carry the most to what I carry the least. I hope this was helpful. I know that I kind of sped up towards the end through some of that gear, so if you have any questions about the arm bar or the PowerPoint, if you'd like to know more about the pens or the flashlights, just leave a comment down below. I do my best to try to respond with folks. Also, if you have other things that you could suggest, if you're watching this and you made it this far, that's really helpful too. I think people might go to the comments to ask a question and they may check to see if someone already asked. I try to do that as a content creator because I know that I see stuff that gets repeated sometimes in the comments that I try to address, and I know that folks don't necessarily pick up on the fact that I've already gotten that comment or seen that comment, or maybe they just want to, they want to be heard, and that's fine. It's not a big deal, but I just think that if you do leave it down there, it could be helpful to someone else. I really appreciate tuning in today. We are closing in on 1,000 subscribers. Spread the word about my channel if you really like it. Tell your friends. Let's try to get it up to that 1,000 because I am planning a pretty cool little giveaway for that as well. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for your support. I hope you have a fantastic week. Until next time, peace.